Go, James Rapien! Go, James Rapien! Go, James Rapien, you Sports Illustrated beat reporter!
I mean, James, it's only the second time you've gotten that kind of welcoming. But, I mean, does it get better, or are you ready to get sick?
No, it's great. It's great. If I was a Ranger, I would be the green.
You got a little prop in the background there. You didn't show anybody what was going on. I mean, you had the little
I was
Ranger.
thinking White Ranger, and then, I got the Megazord here. Big Power Rangers fan. Who knows? Maybe one time I'll wear one of these helmets behind me. I haven't opened them yet. So
I think that'd be fantastic.
Never know. Never say never.
Do you have any of those, are you the superstitious sort where when something happens, maybe it's around the house with your family and a brand new baby girl around the house there, or something happens with the Bengals or whatever, that you keep those in a certain spot, and then if something goes, kind of south a little bit, you move them around?
Not with the backdrops, but I do believe in that a bit for sure. And so there's certain things like in my life I would do that with, but I haven't thought about that with the backdrop props. It's just kind of not to steal a Joe Burrow line, but if I think something's cool, I'll put it there. And then if I have a change of heart or decide to shuffle it, I'll decide to shuffle it. So he does that with his fashion. I guess I do that with my shelves behind me.
Okay. All right. All right, look, we had Sam Monson on from Pro Football Focus on a little bit earlier. We're walking through some of the matchups. You're the guy that's down there at practice every day. All the talk seems to have been centered, including on this show, on the Bengals offensive line. When you're talking to guys, it's one thing for them to say it to the media publicly. They have to say all the right things, and that's true across the board in life. Privately, how do they feel about this thing?
Oh, I mean, they're confident. They're confident. Now, they think that this game should be at a neutral site? Of course, because it should. If they were going to have to play that Week 18 matchup to win the division and earn a playoff home game against the Ravens. So they certainly feel that way. And heck, Jesse Bates said it, I know, nationally. I think it was yesterday. And they'll say that privately, but they are confident going into this game. They know it's going to be tough. But even with these offensive line issues, I think they believe they're going to be able to go in there and run their offense and not have the issues that they had against the Ravens, because it was really the perfect storm against Baltimore. It's a really good defense that wasn't blitzing Joe Burrow. You have these offensive line issues, and you limit their possessions. They're not going to have 7 possessions on Sunday. Though they're more likely to have 17 possessions, I think, than 7. The Bills had, I think, 16 possessions last week against Miami for comparison's sake. So that alone, I think that they're going to be in much better shape. And so, yeah, they're confident offensively, and we know what they're capable of defensively. So they feel good going into this game, even though it's going to be a tough one on the road.
It's a moot point, but I just want to follow up on something you said a second ago, because I have felt very differently about this, because I think you're comparing apples to apples rather than apples to oranges. The bottom line is the Bills and the Bengals played the same number of games this season. You can't say that about the Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. But the Bengals and the Bills played the same number of games, and the Chiefs lost 3, or the Bills lost 3 and the Bengals lost 4. Why should this game be at a neutral site?
Because the game, it wasn't like the Bengals game against the Browns was canceled, and the Bills game against the let's say the Ravens or the Dolphins or whoever you want to use. That game determined a lot, and it could have went either way. And by making the Bengals have to win that Week 18 game, the only reason they would have had to win that Week 18 game to clinch the North and get a home playoff game, and they go hand in hand. It was stupid that the NFL said otherwise. Is by losing to the Bills. So, all right, well, if that's possible, losing to the Bills, then winning against the Bills would have given them home field. And regardless of what happened Week 18, the Bengals record-wise, to your point, would have had a better record percentage points-wise than the Ravens. It's not perfect. Fine. They have to go to Buffalo. They're not crying about it, by the way. I'm not saying that by any stretch. I think they're excited for the challenge, but if you gave them truth serum, of course they would say that. And I would feel that way too if I was in that locker room. And I don't know if there was a perfect way to go about it. the Bengals probably got the short end of the stick of the teams, and this benefited the Chiefs the most. That's fair to say too. I get why Bills fans would have a gripe too. But okay, let's see what happens on Sunday.
Just to follow up on this neutral site thing here for a second, do you think in the offices of the National Football League that this is almost a perfect storm? You know, some conspiracy people out there think this. I've thought this for a long, long time, and I think it's given them the perfect storm to float the idea in future years about having conference championship games like Super Bowls at neutral sites. You buying into that?
They certainly could, and it's a good test route. And heck, I got an email in my inbox from the NFL an hour ago, 2 hours ago, talking about how much demand there is for tickets. And yeah, I get it. I understand it, especially in the AFC when you have all of these big-time quarterbacks, and you have quadruple the number of big-time quarterbacks in the AFC right now than you do in the NFC. Every AFC championship game is going to be awesome. I mean, that's the thing. The NFL, whatever they end up with, whether it's a neutral site game, whether it's in Kansas City, whether it's in Cincinnati or in Buffalo, depending on the outcome of this weekend's games, it's going to be a must-see game because of the quarterbacks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is fourth of the four, and he's awesome, a number one pick, a national champion, and has played really well this season. So, yeah, I think that they could certainly carry that out. And if they did, at least on the AFC side, it would be must attend for a lot of these teams because of the quarterbacks. You'd feel like you have a real shot. At the same time, I don't think owners would love it, but if it generates more money, then you could probably get them on board. But that's a real jerk thing to do to some fans, I think, in the whatever team earns home field advantage. So that would be something you'd have to iron out.
All right, let's talk about the game here for a second. How different do you think, from just a strategic standpoint, this Cincinnati offense is going to be than what we've seen them when they had other guys along the offensive line? Meaning, are they having to keep more guys in? Are they having to do some things that, they'll do it from time to time on a given play or a given game, but you know what I'm getting at here. I mean, their longest pass play last week was 19 yards. I think they're in trouble if their longest pass play this week is 19 yards. Maybe you disagree with that. But do you think philosophically they're going to look different? Do they become a more run, put more emphasis on the run game this week?
No, that doesn't mean they won't run it, but I think they're going to look pretty close to the same. And to steal Eric Weddle's zero chance line, if their longest pass play is 19 yards, they have zero chance. This team is going to go into Buffalo, and they plan to throw it around. And they're going to lean on Joe Burrow, and they're going to say, all right, we're still going to go empty at times. And I think Samaje Perine might be in the backfield a bit more because he's such a great pass protector. Maybe you give Jackson Carman a little help. But initially, I think they're going to say, all right, let's see how this works. Let's see how this plays. It would be different if there was a Von Miller on the other side, right? Or you had an Aaron Donald in the middle, or Micah Parsons, or, they have Gregory Rousseau, who's a good player. They have Ed Oliver, who's a good player. But Akeem Adeniji, I thought, has been pretty decent. I think that Max Sharping, they have confidence in him. And so now we're talking about Jackson Carman. Okay, so we'll see how he does early and go from there. And I think that's how they're going to do things initially. Now, last week against the Ravens, were they bogged down and did they just completely change their offense when Carman went in? Absolutely. They went into the exact opposite of, I think, what they're going to do this week, where the playbook's going to be pretty open. They're going to spread the ball around early. And if things don't go right, if Carman's getting beat, then they'll adjust. But I think their plan is to throw the ball. That doesn't mean they won't run it some, but I think they're going to throw the ball, try to get the ball to their weapons. And to your point, hit on big plays. And they're going to need these skill guys to come through. These 50-50 balls, they can't be 50-50 balls to Jamar Chase or Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins or any of these skill players. They need to go up, get them, and make big plays downfield.
Gosh, there was just something I was going to ask you about that, and golly day, aging, boy, is it tough. Golly day, it was something I really wanted to ask you about. Guys, pick me up here a second.
About the skill players?
No, go ahead. I'll think of something here in a second.
Casey, I know you got something for James. Casey.
Yeah, I mean, the defense. I'm gonna go to the defensive side for a minute because we brought up something earlier. A lot of fans are worried about this offensive line and can we protect Joe Burrow? But I'm looking at the other side. Can they protect Josh Allen with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard? Those guys are playing really well. Their offensive line is not great. DJ Reader is a force up the middle. I mean, I think this is a great advantage for the defensive line. What do you think?
It is. And it's a good point because this Bengals defensive line is better than the Bills defensive line. And the Bills have issues in the trenches as well with their offensive line. So, I've answered some questions about the Bills rushing attack and how good it's been this year. Well, last week they didn't rely on it despite being up big against Miami early on. And you'd think that's when they would lean on it. So I don't really think that's going to be a major issue for the Bengals. I think they can shut that down. And really the key, it's not just getting pressure on Josh Allen, but it's containing him. And Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, they've done a really good job of that. And if you do that and you contain him, you don't let him outside the pocket or break a tackle and push the ball deep downfield, well, you are going to limit some of those big plays. So I agree with you. I think that this Bengals defensive front, they have the edge if you compare defensive fronts, and they could be really disruptive. And that's a major key. This Bengals defense, maybe they don't hold the Bills to 23 points. Maybe they give up 30. But can you force 3 turnovers in the process, an interception, a sack fumble, and another turnover somewhere? I think if they do that, then it's a win, even if they do give up more points than they have most of in most games this season.
What do you think the state of the secondary is? That's where I was going, James, on this whole thing.
Yeah.
At safety, there's no question. They're rock solid back there, the two guys that have been there all year long in Von Bell and Jesse Bates. We saw blown coverage a couple of times from Eli Apple. I thought the kid played pretty hard, though, in that game. I thought he tackled very well, especially in the run game in that game, did Eli Apple. But look, you're leaning on a couple. It looks like Flowers. He's not practiced this week. You're going with 2 young guys in Hill and Britt. And I'm just curious, Stephon Diggs, and this is a big play, big target offense.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those numbers, and we ran through them earlier this week. The ball traveled in the air on 39 attempts last week by Josh Allen. The ball traveled an average of over 15 yards per attempt in the air.
Yep.
That's the highest it's been, double the average over the last 2,800 games of quarterbacks in the NFL. So they are looking to throw it, and they are looking to throw it deep. How confident are you based on what you've seen on this secondary the Bengals are trotting out there?
Well, if they do that, I'm confident because this Bengals defensive front should disrupt it some. And, 15-plus yards downfield, that's just wild. So I think that's shouldn't have happened anyway, and it almost cost them the game against Miami. But I think they'll dial it back some. But to your point, they are explosive. Stephon Diggs is a stud. And first, starting with him, how do you slow him down? I think you're going to have to double him. And, asking Eli Apple or asking Cam Taylor-Britt or insert Mike Hilton, who's their best corner right now, certainly best healthy corner. Staying with him one-on-one is a challenge. So double him as much as you can. They also have Gabe Davis, who's a big target, but you can put him in single coverage. It does hurt that you don't have Trey Flowers against a guy like Dawson Knox, who has a touchdown in 5 straight games. It's kind of an under-the-radar weapon at tight end for the Bills. But who knows? Maybe Flowers is able to go. If not, you're going to rely on Dax Hill, and you're going to rely on guys like that to step up. But I think that this secondary, the one benefit to Eli Apple getting beat on that double move, and there aren't many, right? Because that was a real game changer, 41-yarder to Demarcus Robinson. You survived the game. And so now what is Lou Anarumo hitting on all the time, not just with Eli, but with all these guys? Do not get beat deep against now a team that's going to try to beat you deep. So it becomes an even bigger point of emphasis, I think, this week. And they're going to give up some big plays. You just want to limit those. And so it's a concern, but it's not like the secondary has given up a ton of huge numbers to wide receiver ones this season. So I think Diggs is going to get his. You might look up and he might have 10 receptions for 100+ yards. You just don't want him to have 2 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. You want to limit those big plays.
All right, James, we ask you every week. You're jumping on the big bird, I'm assuming. Are you flying or are you driving tomorrow?
Oh, driving. Luxurious bus I'm driving up there tomorrow. And because the thing is if you have to go to the airport and there's no direct flights and it's the same time, I'd rather control my own destiny in the car.
Well, see, James, I was a guy that got in the car last week. I've said this a couple of times. I mean, a real man like yourself, I'm sure, is driving straight to Buffalo. You're not stopping for the night. I drove from here to Texarkana, Texas last Friday afternoon. Didn't leave till 2 p.m. in the afternoon and got all the way down to Texarkana, Texas. Brandon Seho is having to stop to get a little rest and break up the ride in Akron, Ohio. So I'm assuming you're going straight through.
Wait, he's stopping in Akron on the way to Buffalo?
Oh, yeah. He's with his mom, his stepdad. I know they're gamers. But Brandon,
for the night,
gets a little tired.
Oh, my. He's always been a diva. But stopping to Buffalo, I can't wait to text him. I mean, that's wild to me. I mean, I bet he takes
that, James.
a bathroom break on the way to Columbus. My goodness.
Now I would probably need a couple of those. So I'm not going to step on a guy about bathroom breaks. You live on coffee
on the way to
and,
Columbus.
Believe me, it's happened multiple times. But the point I'm making here is this: I love that word, diva. That's a great word. I should have used it earlier myself. I give you the credit for it. I mean, he is leaving today. So they can get up there, leave about 4 in the afternoon. They're going to stop outside of Akron to get a good night's sleep. Then I don't know how far Akron is to Buffalo. It can't be more than, 2 hours? Tops.
I don't know either because I'm not stopping in Akron. I don't.
Brandon, do you want to defend yourself before we let James go? I mean, he just referred to you as a diva, and I basically did without using that word.
I mean, he's right. He's known me long enough where, he's right. It's a nice family trip. I was trying to get my brother to fly and meet me there. I was going to drive all the way Saturday by myself. Mom and stepdad wanted to go. They got some points. You know about points, being on the road. James, burn some points. Enjoy nice Akron, Ohio tonight. Get there nice and early tomorrow. On Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow settle in. Get ready for the Jags to beat the Chiefs. Have a good day.
So when are you going to get to Akron? Like 7, 8?
I can't hear what he's saying because I don't have him. When do you get to Akron tonight? I'll get there around, I think, 9, maybe something like that.
Man, all right. Well, enjoy. Drink a cold one. I'm sure there's like an Outback you can go to in Akron.
Amen. I'm all about it. All about Outback. Got no problem with Outback.
Bloomin' Onion.
A Chili's.
And there's another one, or a one of my.
There's definitely Coors Light in Akron.
What is the
and
one
James
that
knows I like my Coors Light.
That's true.
Gosh,
you're not diva with beer.
That's debatable. All right, James, safe okay, prediction. You got a prediction for the game?
Yeah, Bengals 35-31. If you think, or 34-31, excuse me, by a field goal. I think Evan McPherson is perfect on the day. 4 for 4 extra points, 2 for 2 field goals, and the Bengals force they're +2 in the turnover battle when it's all said and done. And whether they turn it over once and force 3 or just force 2 turnovers, I think that they'll give themselves the edge that way. It's going to be a tight one, though, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's about 8 different game stories that get scrapped throughout that game on my computer here. So
all right, buddy. Well, safe travels up and back, and we'll look forward to catching up with you. We, as always, thank you for your time, James.
Of course. Thanks. And Brandon, be safe, man. I know it's going to be a tough trip to Akron tonight.
Yeah, it is. It is. Godspeed ahead for all.